this rooftop unit here, or 3 of them. Very light on its maintenance and other requirements. All right, so start back here. Exhaust right here. This hood is for the exhaust. It's got barometric roof damage, so that'll exhaust when the building pressure rises. Up here we have our outside air intake. We have filters on here. They're just metal washable filters. I'm sure you're familiar with them. Got the bottom and stuff like that. Whenever they get dirty, pull them out, wash them, get them cleaned off, and then throw them back in there. That really helps keep the unit clean and keep you from having to change the inside filters. So over here we got all our, this is just all the economizer stuff. We have the VFD for the exhaust fans. If the building pressure rises too much above set point, these exhaust, you can kind of see them in there through the dampers. There's 2 prop exhaust fans, and those will blow exhaust out when the building pressure rises. So that's the VFD for that. I've got an actuator for the economizer, which will change from return air to outside air. It does have automatic. There's no need to change anything in the controls. It's all based on FOP. If it sees that it's better to take outside air, or what the unit needs to do, it'll do that. Don't really adjust for the filters. Here we got the standard filters. So these are dead bad. This will be the most common thing that you're going to have to do is change the filters whenever they get dirty. So yeah, all the filters, we can get you a filter list exactly You'll just have to see, based on time-wise, how often you should change it. Here we got the lower section of the motor belts. So belts, just like your other units, you have to change those. Tension them up. We have grease fittings. There's 4 grease fittings. 2 on the motor. We have a grease fitting here, a grease fitting here. Grease fitting right up here for the fan shaft, and then on the other side, if you take that door off, there's another grease fitting for the fan shaft up there. So belts, grease, that's another maintenance item. You'll have to keep on top of it. In here we have our heating section. So gas heat, we have a modulating heat board. This gas valve right here is modulating along with that inducer motor. So you're going to have a really high turn down rate. It'll go run really low, and what's going to happen is, based on how far from set point you are downstairs on the thermostat, it's going to tell this board up here whether you need first stage of heat or second stage of heat, or both running. First stage of heat is going to be 90-degree discharge air. Once it kicks up to second stage of heat, it's going to be 120-degree discharge air. That's going to send that information to these 2 boards, and then tell how much to modulate. Or this is a 2-stage gas valve. It will tell this gas valve what stage to be. So you could have it where you can see on the computer it's running 2 stages of heat. It'll only be running 1 of these, because it doesn't go by first stage, second stage. It goes by temperature for first stage and second. So that's a little bit different than most units like you might have seen. You could definitely have 1 running or 1 not running while it's calling for both stages. It's all dependent on temperature. And you got plenty of heating capacity. These are very large heating capacity, so in the winter there should be no need to adjust your minimum OA intake or anything, and this will keep up with it. You got plenty of capacity. Yeah. That's the heating section. got the two VFD screens up there. So right-hand side is my favorite speed drive, and that's opposite of this. On the other side of the unit, there's a cover you got to take off. That's where that drive is. And you really should never need to get to the drive. That display, there's a little joystick and two buttons to the left of it. That's on there. It says enter and cancel buttons in that joystick. And I scroll through that screen. So if you have a fault, you're not seeing it on the BAS, or if you're not connected to it or something, or if we ask you or the service tech asks you to see what that screen is saying, that's where we're going to have you look. That's the main board for the unit. Interacts with the BAS and then tells everything else what to do. So that's what that is. Then we got your economizer, your outside air, and all your I don't know what you're doing maintenance wise, but if you are going to be starting up cooling each year, if you come out here, and a good thing to check is make sure that the heaters are in operation, because what the heaters do is keep the refrigerant out of the oil, and it warms the oil up. The main thing is to keep the refrigerant out of the oil, so when they start up for the season or start up at cold temperatures like this, it doesn't have a bunch of liquid refrigerant sitting in mixed with the oil, because that's just going to wash out the bearings, because like the compressor causes a lot of damage. So definitely make sure those heaters are always heated up, and if for any reason you have the unit off for, I believe they say over an hour, you want to have the heaters energized for 24 hours just to boil all that refrigerant out of there. It'll state that all in the manual, so definitely reference the manual. There's a ton of info on it, but that's one thing I would check if I were you, maintenance wise. Second thing, probably in addition to the filters and belts, maintenance wise, what you're going to do most is clean the coils. So these are micro channel coils. I don't know if you ever had to deal with these. They're not like the old, they're more like a car radiator. Have like a copper tube with aluminum fins. These are micro channel, so they're way more efficient, which is why they do it, but they're definitely more fragile. It's all aluminum. It's pretty thin aluminum to get that efficiency out of it.
Best way to clean these?
Best way to clean them is just with this very soft bristle brush. They're actually a lot better to clean. The cottonwood, which is normally what you're going to be cleaning off of them, really kind of just falls off when the fans turn off. It kind of just falls off in sheets, but a soft bristle brush will help that when you need to. You can use water, but definitely no chemicals whatsoever. No cleaner, no coil cleaner, no like soap or anything, because it'll eat away at that little aluminum. Yeah, definitely no pressure washer. So just high volume, low pressure water if you're doing anything. And there's little covers you can see with those 4 screws. You can take those off and hit it from the inside, but definitely very low pressure. Just get a volume of water going through there, and that you clean it. But honestly, most of the time you just need a very soft bristle brush, just to knock it off there. They tend to stay a lot cleaner and it doesn't pack in the coils like the old ones did. Pretty much on that. That's almost everything on these. They're pretty straightforward. Do you have any questions?
Well, I just want to note too, all 3 of these are identical, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So
all 3
you'll
units
see the same thing
are identical, so you'll see the same on all of them. same maintenance requirements. Yeah, all three are-
The copper's actually spread apart on like
Oh yeah,
so
the other ones. Yeah. Yep.
So that's good.
Yeah. So hopefully these are a little more serviceable than the old ones. The only thing that's tough is you got like 50 screws to take off to change the filter or service the belt or anything like that. So that's the only tough part. And just take it easy with the screws so that those holes don't get stripped out right away. We definitely want to preserve them. So, but I believe that's pretty much everything on these. Very simple control. Anthony will kind of go over a little bit of the control, but it's very simple thermostatic control. He'll tell you how to change the temperatures and stuff. But, pretty simple units. Any other questions on them?
Sounds good.
I think that's everything we got.
Yep.
So we had one problem with the unit after startup. We had this board right here fail. So this is the board that controls this modulating gas valve and this variable speed draft motor. So this board actually blew up a little like computer chip on there, really tiny computer chip blew up on it. So most likely a power related issue, because I've heard that power's been pretty bad out here, but we replaced that on warranty. And I foresee no other issues with it, but this is most likely the board that we're having problems getting with this specific unit. So hopefully this is going to take care of that. We'll keep in touch and make sure to get here. We'll keep in touch, make sure that took care of it. But without this board, it was running this one, but this one does not have nearly the turn down that this one does, so it would cycle more often, which would cause that problem. So yeah, that's what we replaced. It'll be all good now. I foresee no issues in the future with it. That's it.
All good?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Anthony with John's Controls, and we're here to talk about the BAS and all the controls for the HVAC here. So, Mike, we went over this before, how to get into the front end.
Yep.
You actually have a link, correct? Up in
Yep.
that window, that's how you opened it up. So if you ever see this window pop up, your connection is not private, it might come up like that. Sometimes if the computer reboots or something, then you would just hit the advanced tab, and then from there just proceed to site. I know it says unsafe, but it's fine. It's just that it doesn't recognize like a certificate in there or whatnot. But then once you do that, it gets you to your login screen, and we already set you up with your username, password. Everything's been good there, right?
Yep.
No issues logging in.
Well, I'm good.
If it wants to cooperate here. CPS server sometimes a little slow. Okay. So you would log in. Now on your screen, you should see this main page here, and it is the Mahalia Jackson. On this layout, you got the different floor plans you can click through. Your roof, third floor, second, first, and then these rooftops. You can click on any of them, it'll take you to all of them. Same thing here on the right hand side, you have your summary of all the unit ventilators, the RTU summary, and then just the overall BAS summary here. And then down here we also have the master zone set point, so that we put in there. You can change that and it'll write to all the other ones. Now once you write it, it'll be like a one and done. It'll write it, but you can still change all the other ones. So like the individual zones, so if you go to a different unit vent, you can change it and it won't stay that 76. So I don't know if you've been kind of changing them individually, just kind of.
Every once in a while.
Okay. And then here's the breakdown of all the unit ventilators. So here, there's this, this is everything on first and I believe all of second floor. And it just gives you the temperature in there, zone set point, quality in the room, scheduled occupancy, and all those other points. Then you go to next and it'll be the rest of that list. Have you been using this this page, like the overview? Or do you just kind of spot check it?
I just go to the first floor rooms. I never use
Oh, and
that.
look at this way? Yeah, so this is another way to look at it too. Is you can, if you go back to the main page, and if you ever want to go back, you can click right here in the actual tree, and it'll take you right to that main one. Or you can use your back arrows, whichever one you want.
And what was that, the UV summary?
Yep. Yeah, so the UV summary there. And that just, sometimes it'll take a while to populate. It's a lot of information coming in. And you can always zoom in on whatever you need to. But that'll give you a quick overview of all the temperatures, whatever's hot, what's warm. You can see like one of these has got an override on the zone set point.
Yeah, I erased that one.
Yeah, that's the one we wanted to look at, right? Fan command and statuses, things like that. And then you hit next and it'll go to the rest of those unit ventilators. And then we said these ones, the question marks, those have, those are waiting on power, correct?
Yep, the only one that's not is 303.
Okay, I'll look at that.
303 is, I think they just hit it. So
Oh,
they
from
have,
the actual button.
yeah, they actually turn it off.
Okay.
I think he has some equipment in there that doesn't want to overheat or something. So
So just kind of going back, so now you know where to get all the layout, the UV layout there. There is also a rooftop summary, and that'll give you status, command, output, cooling, the discharge air temp, and then the return air temp. So I think Joe's working on RTU 3, that's why that one's reading question marks. So whenever you see those, that just means that the controller itself is offline. So whatever value you see on there, that won't necessarily be accurate. That just would be the last value that it was showing before it went offline.
okay.
So there's that, and then any point that you see on any of these graphics, you know that you can just click on it. If you hover over and you see the little hand, that's when you can click on it and it'll bring you more information about it. So like for example, we're here on the supplier. I clicked on supplier temperature for RTU2 and it brought me up to this window. And then here, it'll tell you the actual network point that exists on this this network controller here, this engine. And then right here, on any point, and you know, like zone temperatures, discharge air temps, things like that, you click on this and then it'll actually bring you a trend over time. So I don't know if you've taken a look at any trends, but that's always helpful too. So like here, it'll tell you, you can hover over any point and it'll tell you what it was with a timestamp, date and time. Then up here, there's this little download button. So if you ever wanted to download maybe like a PDF, so like say somebody's saying, hey, this room's been cold for so long and you want to back it up, you can pull up a trend on that zone temp and then download it, and it'll have data and a graph and you can submit it that way. You can also change the date range. You click on the calendar here. So this is just the last 24 hours. You can do the last 7 days, or you can do a custom range, you know, whatever time frame that you want to set it to. So you can click the date and time from and to, and then just hit apply. And it'll give you a custom range. And whenever you click on any trends, it'll put it in this custom trend viewer. If you see it actually pulled it down, there's that little arrow up in the corner. It'll store up to 10 points in there every login session. So like say you wanted to compare a couple different rooms together, you can just go to all those zone temps, click on them, and then it'll stack them in this viewer. So like I have this one here. Say I exit out and I want to compare it to, well, let's look at RTU1 supplier temp 2. So I click on that point, went to trend, and then now I have both of them in this trend viewer. I can select both of them, hit apply, and then just layer them together. So that's always good, like if you want to check, you know, maybe discharge air temp to heating command, things like that. So, and I'll go over it a little bit more when we go to the the unit ventilators. Go back here, and we'll go to the unit vent summary. So also on this summary here, if you wanted to go to any of these rooms, you can actually click on the actual text there and it'll take you to that specific one. So like I clicked on UV 107, and that'll take you there. And all these will be the same. I believe you have 41 or 42 unit ventilators here in all the classrooms. I think it's 42.
So.
And just the overall layout, we'll look at it more when we go to look at it, but I've showed you like the mixed air damper, things like that. You can see here, this one looks like it's economizing. I mean, it's nice out. So the sequence for these, it'll look at outside air and decide, you know, based on what temperature it is outside, whether to bring in more or less outside air. So there'll always be that minimum that we've seen at 10%.
Yeah.
They don't have a whole lot of movement on them. You've seen them. So sometimes you might have to dial that back just a little bit. You have your return air temp, the pre-filter, differential pressure transducer. That one, there's alarms on those points too, so once they start to get dirty, they'll usually go up above that point, and then you'll see that. You've already dealt with the low temperature alarm. That is just like a software point, so whenever, just to protect the cooling coil, because really it's electric reheat, so that'd be fine, but you really want to protect that refrigerant from the condensing units. Command and status. These I've showed you like overrides, how you want to command. You've got to command the fan off. You can click on those, and you've been able to do that so far with any issues there. Zone set point, you're pretty familiar with. The occupancy schedule, have we gone through changing the schedules for these?
No.
For the unit ventilators?
Well,
We might have gone over the rooftops. Well, either way, I'll go over it again. So if you're on any unit ventilator,
oh, I think yeah.
yeah, and then you go up to the top here, this page 2, page 1. See how you can see there's page 2 and page 3. Page 3 will get you to the schedule.
Yeah, and you can change it to occupied.
Yep, and then you click on the actual text there for UV aux schedule. And this is a master schedule for all the unit ventilators. So you would just change it in any of these, and then it would go across the board. You can either click on anywhere on here. If you click on, like, say, unoccupied, click on the edit pencil, and it'll just bring you up to that window. And you've seen, like, you want to add an event, you just click here, add event, start and stop time, what you want your states to be. Then down at the bottom, you have the exception schedules, and we've already used a couple out here, correct? On those super cold days,
Yeah.
where you just add the exception, and then you have your different options in here.
Yeah, I think we did long running.
Yeah, where we just did it, we knew it was going to be cold for like 2 days, so we went long running, ran it for 2 days, and kept it occupied. And then after that, they will stay in this tree here, but you could see the date. I mean, it's not going to hit that date again, it'll just stay on there. So you can always delete these, the little trash can there, unless you were to, you know, edit and change the date range. So there's that, and that's on page 3. Like I said, you can get to that on any unit ventilator, and that'll change all of them, because there's one master schedule just for the unit ventilators. Also on any of these, you can go to page 2, And that'll be where you have all your text stuff. So you click on that and it says trend, equipment activity, equipment relationships, equipment data. This is going to show you just a breakdown of one. It'll have like a general trend on some of your points up in the upper left there. The equipment activity, that'll tell you whenever there's been like any sort of alarms, basically any sort of activity that happened to that unit. So like here you can see all the zone temp went normal, and then you click that drop down arrow and it says today at 7:38. So it's probably, you know, below set point overnight than when it started warming up. You can also see like if you're to do any commands or anything. So like this one, it says mrice 28 heating command today at 8:35. It was originally off and you commanded on. So you can always use that to check and see, you know, maybe there's an override still on or things like that. In any of these boxes, if you want to expand it open, like this equipment data, and up in the upper right corner, all these, there's these two arrows, you just expand it. And then this will just give you, this is just all the text form of all the points on there that you see on the graphics. If you ever want to use that, most people like to use the graphics anyway. But this will be on any equipment too. So, let me go back here. Back to the unit ventilators. I just want to go over the temperature control sequence real quick. So we've talked about how the set point works, correct? Have I gone over you how we have our effective cooling and heating set points, and how that kind of works based on the zone temp?
Yeah.
So yeah, you just set your set point. You're going to have plus or minus 2 degrees for your effective heating and cooling set points, and that'll be actually what it's controlling for. So at 76 on your set point, that makes your effective cooling set point 78, and your effective heating 74. So that means at a set point of 76, if the unit is heating, it's going to heat all the way up, and it won't switch back to cooling until it hits 78, and then it'll try to coast. You know, as it starts cooling, it'll coast, and then if it gets, you know, below 74, then it'll go back into heating. That just stops it from going hot, cold, hot, cold. Economizer enable, that point up there, that is what allows that mixed air damper to open on its own. So like right now it's at 71% because economizer is enabled, and it's like, okay, it's 52 degrees out, maybe it needs to cool it off a little bit, so it's going to bring some of that cold air in. If you ever have an issue too, you can always turn that false, but that is based on outside air, that economizer enable. So there's a reset, it just shut it off on its own. You know, if the outside air gets below, I believe 50 degrees, then it'll just disable it on those. Tuning reset, you should never really have to do anything with that, but just to note for that, if you were to do that tuning reset and turn it true, that basically just resets the logic on all the equipment. So really, the most you're going to be worrying about is heating and cooling stages. So like, say maybe the heating stages are taking way too long to stage up, you'd want to do like a tuning reset. So it just resets kind of like the timing that's inside the logic there. Low temp reset, we've used that a couple times. If it trips out on low temp, it will not go back to normal until you toggle that. And you'll just have to do a adjust. You won't have to do an override on that. And if you do an override by chance, make sure we release that. Because if it stays on reset, it won't go back to normal. You need that to be off to be a normal state. Cooling enable, reheat enable.
Go for Mike.
I have a package at the front door for you.
Alright, I'll be right down. I'm in training right now.
Copy that.
The cooling enable and reheat enable, if these are false, even if there's a call for heat, it won't come on. That's like your shutdown on that. Or like for the cooling, you know, say maybe there's something wrong with that condensing riser, but you know, we wouldn't know that because it's a separate system. You can always turn that off. You can set it to false, and even if there's a call for cooling, it's not going to try to turn on that cooling stage. Same goes for the heating. This OA CO2 reset A and B, those are just the upper and lower limits. Those won't change. That's just part of the economizer too. CPS has it in there that, you know, if the CO2, the zone quality is too high, it'll start bringing in more OA. And those are like the upper and lower limits. So there's that. I think we kind of covered everything on the univents. Is there any questions you had on the logic on those, or like how they're running?
I think I'm alright.
Cool. Then the rooftops, we went over them. On the roof, there's a whole lot of data on here. Most of it is just, you know, kind of for informational purposes, because for these, everything's all internal. All this stuff is all being figured out up at that unit. We're not doing anything on our end. The only thing you'd really have to worry about is the occupancy. So whether you want it occupied or unoccupied. And then basically you're just your zone temp and your zone set point. And all three of these are on the stats. So everything's being done down at the thermostats. They'll be controlling for that. Sometimes we control for like a supplier temp or whatnot. This just looks at zone. Same thing with these. If you click on page 3, you go to the schedule. This is where you can actually change your occupied and unoccupied schedule. And this one's just like the unit ventilator, just one schedule, and that controls all the rooftops. So you'll just have those two different schedules here. Let's see here. Now back to the main screen. You go up in the upper right there where it says graphics. You know how we had our page 1 and page 2? If you go down, there's that potential problems area. This will actually give you a breakdown of any issues that maybe have come up for the whole school. So like here, 208 looks like it was above set point. This is always a good way, I think, to kind of check at the beginning of the day. Maybe just go on the main page, go to the potential problem areas, and that'll just kind of give you a short list of, you know, things to look out for the day. You can also see that up in the very top right, there's that alarm bell. Have you used that at all yet?
No.
So if you click on that, that'll just give you a list of all alarms here at the school. So any low temp alarms that may have tripped, any gas faults, anything like that, it'll come up in here. If it'll pull up.
It's just so many.
A lot of this is handled up at the server too. At CPS server, there's a lot going on in there. It's not wanting to cooperate today. Well, I'll let yours load it up and we can go from there. I think one last thing I wanted to look at on the front end was the search function. So if you just click on the hourglass or the magnifying glass up there, you can type in anything you want and it can pull it up. So that's the other way you can look at it. So like say you wanted to go by, you could search up room number, or you could search up the unit ventilator name or the rooftop name, or just whatever you prefer. So if I wanted to look at classroom, I start typing in, start typing in room. Now, this one should be, I will have to check the searching on this, because this should really only give you options for this school. It looks like it's pulling up everywhere.
Main office to Mike, come in, Mike.
Go for Mike.
Mike, can you please go to room 114 to check on their heat?
I'll check on it on my computer. Just give me a few minutes.
Yeah, I'll double check this, but ideally you just search in like that room that you want to look at.
Mike, can you hear me?
Yes, I'll take care of it.
No, I was just trying to tell you that it's set to 85, but it's not blowing any warm air, but it is set to 85.
I'll take care of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that one.
Okay, so my alarm is pulling up all of them, like Air Force Academy, Sadlowski Element.
Okay. So I'll look on the front end too and make sure that gets cleared up on your screen too, because you should only see the ones for here.
Okay.
That's probably why it took so long to pull up, because it's pulling all the CPS. But if you click on any of those, since we got it open, I just kind of want to show you how to acknowledge these. You just click anywhere on them. See how it pulls up the serve by on the side there? So it'll tell you what time it came in, what category, so what school it came from. Ideally, you'll just see Molly Jackson there. And then acknowledge, if you click on that, that'll actually it'll keep the alarm in that list, but it'll, remove that red highlight there. It'll just say it's an acknowledged alarm. And then with that, you can add an annotation as to why you acknowledged it, this, that, and the other. Now, if you click on the checkbox in the list on the left there, that's how you can actually clear out alarms. So if you were to highlight that and then hit the actions drop down up top, just above it, then you can actually discard, and that'll remove it. So once I get your alarms set up to where you just see here, we can spot check them, and then I'll clear them out so you got a fresh slate, a fresh clean slate, so you can see what stuff as it comes in. But that's pretty much it on the alarms there. When we get to the exhaust fans, we'll go over that, but that'll be pretty straightforward. You'll just have a list and you can command those. It'll be on a schedule, similar to everything else.
Awesome.
But I think that's it. Do you have any questions on any of this stuff? I mean, you've been kind of working with it for a while, right? With the system.
Yeah.
Is there any like naming and stuff that you don't like the way it's laid out?
No.
Or is everything pretty good?
Good.
Okay. Yeah, and if anything ever comes up that you see that maybe something's not linked properly or whatever, let me know. But other than that,
No, since you guys put that conference room, the conference room's been good too. So
no complaints in there? No complaints in that room? You've been able to set that one good. The other thing too is you really shouldn't have to deal with it, but just kind of know if you scroll up there. Actually, I don't even know if you see the network tree, do you? If you scroll up on your tree there, can you see the network? No? Okay. It's up to you. I can add access on there. If you don't really care to have it, I don't have to. It's really up to you. But this is basically all the back end stuff that's going on inside this controller here. Other than that, I mean, if you don't have any questions, that's it. I mean, everything's pretty straightforward. just the rooftops and those systems. We already went over like the thermostats for the rooftops. Those ones have the displays on them.
1 minute.
And then I kind of wanted to go over just this panel really quick. This is our network. This is our, they call it our supervisory engine. All the unit vents, or no, I'm sorry, the rooftops communicate to this engine here via that, see that blue cable there coming in?
Yep.
That goes to just the rooftops. Now, you want me to open that up?
Yeah, just open it.
And then for the unit vents, they're all over the network through IT. Hey, Joe. So every unit vent, you've seen them, they got an Ethernet cable like this. They all go back to network switches, and then those communicate over IT's issues. There's a couple things that you can look at. If one goes offline, it's most likely an IT issue or power. If there's no power, or maybe something's not communicating over the network.
Okay.
But like all your alarms, the trends, everything that goes back to here, and then this is what reports back to the server. This is just something to note. So like if this were to lose power or go offline, you're not gonna see anything, because everything communicates to this and then up to the server, and the server is where the graphics actually are. So that's it. And you'll see here, this way you can kind of diagnose it too, like Ethernet activity. If this light is not showing anything, there could be a good chance that this isn't talking to the server. That's another thing to look at. If everything were to go offline for the school and you do see power here, could be a network issue. That's pretty much it on that. We can go to a classroom and just kind of briefly go over those controls there. I know you've seen a couple already, but we'll just go over how we got it. And that should be it. All right, is this one already? So on all of them, they got the thermostat in here. This communicates up to the rooftop. These, you won't be changing the set points on any of them, because all the set points will be from us. As far as like the codes and stuff, I'm not sure. That's all Dyken stuff. That's the only thing you're gonna get there. We will go to this side. On every single unit, our controls will be up in the top on the left-hand side. This is where our controller's at. I'll be mounted right here. So like I said, these are the network cables that go back to IT. So if you look on here, there's an indicator light for Ethernet. That'll tell you if it's communicating to whatever there. And then you have, you'll get as-builts too. So you'll get drawings that show you what's wired where. They'll all be the same. You have like all your outputs and everything will be labeled here. Like the cooling command, fan command, your different heating stages are here. And then the damper controls also there. This gets powered from the 24-volt transformer that's in the unit. So if this ever gets turned off, at that disconnect switch in there that we'll look at, they'll turn off the controls as well. So that's why you won't see it online. Because this is actually what's going on or offline is this controller here. Heating stages, 1, 2, and 3. These actually light up so you'll see them. And then on this side, everything that we're controlling, all this stuff comes back to a terminal strip in here. And then these go out into the unit and they have their own control board on the other side. So that's what we're doing with. So like this DAT here, the discharge air temperature comes back to here, and then this goes back to us. So that's where we're reading it at. All the commands, things like that. Now the mixed air damper access, you can see right there. So we're controlling that actuator in the bottom there. And if that's ever loose or anything, there's actually a little Allen key in the back that you can actually loosen that damper. I don't know if you can see that plastic the plastic part right there.
Yeah.
That's around there. And then also filter status is this gray box back in here. You see this right here? This section that goes to the ports here. So you got one on the low side and on the high side of the filters. That's that. You got any questions about like the controls or anything? And quickly pull this off. So in here is the filter. Now you may have to talk to Daikin on what they recommend for these filters. I don't know, what they recommend, how to clean these out. It might just be with water. But this is what we're measuring across. Alright, so there's that disconnect. So if you were to cut that, that would cut off the controls to us. You can see our DATs here. It's all wired in through here. And then this is our return air temp sensor. So that pulls it up through here. That's why this might read a little cold sometimes. That's pretty much it. And then down in there you can see that mixed air damper. You'll need to open up that so you can access it. Just got that one more side I want to open up. So this is where all the Daikin controls are at. Here you can see our transformer. So that's our low voltage going back to us. So there's 120 going into that. And then step down to 24, and that feeds the controller, the relays, and then also the thermostats are powered off of that. This is your fan command relay. Now this is all exposed, so there is some 120 in here off of that. There's like all the Daikin wiring for the condensing unit and all their internal controls. So that's a question you might have to ask Daikin about, like the heating not coming on. Because all we're doing is closing the contacts there, and it goes back to their control. And then they determine, I believe there's like a high limit in there and all that to stop it from going. Also the speed selector switch, CPS, or the engineer requested that they're all at medium. So that's just how they want it. And then fan status is inside this box. So that's how we're reading fan status. So if you ever have one that possibly goes bad, that would be the first place to check. There's like a little current donut in there. That's pretty much it.